Hello, everyone. Welcome to SureFire Live. Hope you guys are doing well. Say the same thing every week. Hope you're doing well. And I do hope you're doing well. A lot of people reached out to me after the tornadoes that came through Middle Tennessee. So thank you to everyone that reached out, making sure everybody was okay. Got a ton of damage in the area, and it wasn't really close to my shop or wasn't really close to where I live. But Alan Rush, who's a partner of SureFire, it was all around his house. He, within a quarter of a mile, he had all kinds of devastation. And he was actually on the phone with a weather person that's a friend of his. And, the guy's like, you better take cover. It's coming right at you. And he was okay. So thank you, everyone. It's funny, well, we had mentioned that there hadn't been a storm in a while, like literally on Friday, like, because we hadn't had that rough of weather. And then here it comes. And we had pictures of this one big chimney cap that we put on Friday, or maybe it was Thursday of that week. And literally this house just got demolished, and our chimney cap, the whole base is still there, and it just ripped the metal, and then all these trees are down, and it was like on one day, off the next. So, but everybody, unfortunately, 6 people lost their lives in that. And so we put out a post today trying to help with some charity work if there's things to do. And this town, really, I'll tell you, Nashville, Tennessee, when there's a disaster, this town jumps to it and helps each other. And it's pretty amazing. I remember in the flood of 2010, how this community just gets out and fixes stuff for people and just volunteers and does amazing stuff. And because in 2006, when that big flood happened at Katrina in Louisiana, my company went down there for a while and worked to do restorations on chimneys. And it's a different vibe. There's a lot of people watching us work. I'll just say that. There was a big group of people just waiting for somebody to come help them, and waiting for the government, waiting for others. And like literally we'd be driving by with our trucks and all of our gear to go fix something, and there'd be people just watching us in their front yards and just waiting for somebody to come help them. And I really like how Nashville gets after it and it helps its neighbors. And as a community, we really act like a community. Got first comments. Hey, Mark, glad to see you're all safe. Thank you, Josh. Yeah, Josh was one of them that reached out to me, making sure everybody was okay. And we were. So thank you for that, Josh. On another note, Willy Wonka is coming out, or it's just called Wonka. And I got to go see that next week because I'm basically Wonka in our chocolate business. I actually have a whole outfit and everything, and got the top hat. Of course, both of my main businesses are top hats, and I got the brown one there, and the blonde wig, and the purple jacket, and all the frills. So I'll probably have to take some photos of that when we go to the movie dressed up. My daughter has a Charlie outfit, but it's not Charlie in the Chocolate Factory. This is the pre-story. So it should be pretty fun though. And then I hope everybody's getting ready for Christmas. I mean, I've got all these little gifts here for Amazon as my friend. So all these little gifts that are building up beside my desk for my wife, and some for my kids. And then, we got our big Christmas party next week for the company. Today I did a Christmas party for, a lot of you know that I have a work release program for my powder coat business, and we probably have 12 people in there that are on the work release program that we brought them because they can't come to our Christmas party, but we had it for them there. Brought in barbecue and some smoked chicken, and brought in the officer that created that program, Officer Peralta, a really great guy. And he came in and ate with them too, and that was a lot of fun. It's one of those really rewarding programs, but it can also be super frustrating when there's people do dumb stuff. And that's kind of what spurred tonight's conversation, just as an open chat as to I'm in some mastermind groups. Chad's in one of them, and just the frustrations that we're dealing with right now between employees, customers, processes that aren't working. Like if there's ever a chance for your chimney company or issues to break down, it's right now. This is the time where things break down. Under the pressure is where you have cracks that develop, people forgetting tools, people doing dumb stuff, people just quitting on you, people getting sick, and then all of a sudden the schedule just goes crazy. This week I've got in my Nashville office, we have 6 customer service people in there, and 4 of them were out right in the middle, right after the storm. We've got customer service people in our other locations too, and they all work together. But right in the middle of when you need everybody. And then like my Knoxville division of all those crews, 4 of my crew members are sick there. And, you already got a full schedule, and it adds to the frustration and stretching of everybody when they're already tired. So Chad says, hi, Wonka. And then somebody said, stress makes diamonds, either diamonds or dust. That's true. And then somebody said, that's awesome, man, for our work release program. That work release program, I love it, but sometimes I'm just so frustrated by these guys who they've got a chance to do something and they literally can just ruin it. And if there's anything I've noticed with them, it is how they react to stress. It's how they react to a stressor in their life, and what they do next is what determines where they are in life. And, I was talking to them. I said, look, for some reason today, for all of our decisions and all of our worldview and everything that we have done in our life has made us wind up in this room together right now. At this very moment, every decision you ever made, and me too, has landed us together in this room. And I think I want to take that as an opportunity to talk to you guys and get to know you. Well, at the same time, there was a guy that had done something. He was like on some kind of drugs. He was sitting in there, and I could not believe it. At a Christmas party, the main police officer right there, and then one of the guys who just got out of the work release program, and we kept him on, was clearly on something. I could not have been more frustrated because I really like this guy. I want to see him do well. And, here we are. I said it's a nice pen. Am I sitting here clicking this damn thing? Sorry. It gets annoying but anyway, so frustrating. I'm like, and we, like right after I gave a speech of grateful, I had everybody go around the room and tell me what they're grateful for. Even, the prisoners, what they're grateful for. And most of them are grateful for the job. They're grateful for their kids. They're grateful for the opportunity to have another chance. They're actually pretty grateful people. And then, you get all that good vibe and feeling, and you got a guy just absolutely ruining it right in front of everybody. So as soon as that meeting was over, we bring this guy in, and the guy who manages the Copaticoat division for me is no holds barred, man. He went right at him. He was like, what the F are you on? What are you, like, it was tough. I'm like, whoa. But that's how, unfortunately, yeah, you have to deal with some of that. And we said, look, you're going for a drug test right now. And he wouldn't go. So he quit. And then my manager said, he's coming back. He'll come back and say, I'm sorry. He'd just give him just a minute. And he did. And he took some kind of pill, and just frustrating. Like right before that, Wes had said, man, this is the best team we've ever had over here. This is the best group of guys. When I bought the business 2 years ago, there were 4 people that work there. Now we have 25 people that work there. And it's amazing. And, but just to see somebody just squander their life. And I'll tell you what I told the kid, and he's not a kid, he's in his 30s. I said, man, you're surrounded by people who really want the best for you, but you're not a kid anymore. And making these mistakes and making these decisions that you're making, the best people in your life will have to run from you and go away from you. They can't give of their time and their efforts and their love and their caring to you, and you just ruin it for them. And you're about to be out of options. You're about to be out of second and third and fourth and 10th chances. People are done. I mean, you couldn't be sitting in a better room with Wes, who's a manager who's amazing, the officer in there who started the program, and me in there as a consultant for him. I said, dude, you're around some people that really, really care and can change your life if you'll get your head out of your butt. And I didn't say butt. And it's just, man, like, wake the hell up, man. Come on. Like, how many chances do you need? And I've made huge mistakes, and everybody has, but it's, what do you do? You can't just keep making the same mistake. You can't just keep doing it. You don't get good results in this life. So anyway, little rant. Got Cody saying, chimney time, baby. Learn up. I'm sorry. It says, I can't see my screen. It's not quite big enough. He says, learn me up, Mark Stoner. Thank you, man. I appreciate you being here every time. Another comment says, that's a shame. When you give them an opportunity, it's a great thing you're doing for these guys. Thank you so much. It was started as a program. The guy started before that I bought the business from, started kind of as a way to save money, right? He started as a way to have cheap labor, and it is cheap labor. You pay the paycheck to the city, they put it in their account for them, build it up. There's some of it on our side where you have to kind of watch them. You actually have to send your people through a certain kind of training so that they can be kind of like guardians, of them while they're there. But still, I love it, and I've expanded it. We are the #1 program in the county for them to send their best people to us, because it's a great environment for them to learn. It's a trade that they can learn. It's in a safe environment. We got a lot of positivity around them. But that being said, it's how they react to stress, how they react when stuff's not going right is what lands them in jail. Like, I'll give you one more example before we start talking about chimney business. But this one kid, I went to him. He actually said the prayer today when he blessed the food before we all ate. And he was a kid that their officer told us, he said, once he gets out of this, I wouldn't hire him back. He's kind of trouble. Well, he has been an amazing story. I went to him today and I said, hey, I really love hearing the great stuff about you and how you've really, change your life around. But he has a thing where outside of work, when he's on his own, when he reacts to problems, he goes way too far. He cusses, he screams, he yells, he, gets the cops called on him. And I'm like, you will never have anything in life if you can't handle stress. If you can't handle the pressure, the grit, the weight, you can't have anything. You won't get it. As soon as any weight's put on you and you crumble, or you explode, you'll get less weight and you'll get less pressure, therefore less opportunity and less success. It's just the recipe. If you can handle it, you get more. If you can't handle it, you don't get any more. That's the best business advice I could ever tell you, is learn how to handle and work through your problems. I was on a call today, and a person was saying, we were talking about micromanagement. And, my on micromanaging, again, when you do have to micromanage things for a short time, it's just like a baby. When you have a new business, or when you have a new system or a new project or a new thing, yes, you have to micromanage it to begin with. But if you stay in micromanagement, it absolutely kills all morale. It kills everybody around you. It becomes who you are as a person. You're just a micromanager. And there's a saying that if you have to micromanage, you are under leading. Now, but there's always a time to micromanage at first. It's like a baby. A baby has to be micromanaged, right? And as that baby grows, then it can kind of get itself into the car seat. It can kind of feed itself, but you still got to be right there, or it'll try to kill itself, and that's how business is. And then you get teenagers, and they still have to be managed, but they can get unruly. And that's how your business is when it's about 3 to 7 years old. And then it starts to get older, and ideally you have some employees who've been with you a while, and it becomes mature and it can kind of run on its own. And it runs differently. But if you're micromanaging things, I heard another guy talk about it. He was talking about like $10 problems. And if you're focused on $10 problems in your business, you're like drilled down that much, you won't ever you later have to work on the $100 problems and the $1,000 problems and the $10,000 problems, not the $10 problems. But if you're going through your phone bill every month and you're like, man, the phone bill was $90 last month, it's $100 this month, where's that $10? Like if you do that with everything all the time, you can't, you need people to look at it. I'm not saying, but as a CEO, as a main person in the business, you either have to have people look at that. You can't be looking at it as the owner. Like the owner can't be like changing the oil in the van. The oil, you can't be, changing out the engine and, mowing the grass around the shop. And as an owner, you're better off. You need to pay people to do that so you can stay focused on what only you can do. But a lot of people get into the minutia of it and like, man, I have no time. But if I watched your time, I bet I could see where you could gain by not doing certain things. And some owners just get tied up in the I've got to be the one to write every estimate. Let's just say, if you're one of those guys where every estimate from the field has to come back to you and you have to look it over and you have to write the bid before it goes out, that's a micromanagement step that you've put in place, and you can only scale very small because next thing you know, your desk is full of estimates every day. And then it gets more estimates, and pretty soon you're not getting all the estimates back out. And next thing you know, it's a week, 2 weeks, a month, 2 months, 6 months. I never got that out. And you micromanage that one step instead of letting them having systems where everybody can write estimates, and then you make it writing better and better estimates. But that's just one easy one. When I consult with chimney companies, that's one that whenever I see that done, whenever there's one person that has to write all the estimates, that's one of the first things I break up. I'm like, give the guys the tools to write the estimates. And like, well, if they know where we buy everything and how much everything costs, they'll start their own business. But they can find all that out anyway. They don't need you for that. They need you for other things. But if you're worried about pricing and who's your supplier, like you should have other things to worry about. But I went on a little tangent. Got a couple other things here. I'm gonna have to make my screen bigger so I can see this better. Okay, Josh says, I keep a 14 panel at home 14 panel drug test at home. Gladly, I haven't needed to use it, but drugs and work is like water and oil. I don't give them a chance to leave. It's put it in the cup now. Yeah, $39.95 at Walgreens. That's exactly right. You keep that ready to go. We send them to a place. But we had to send a guy last week to a place, and he went right out there and he passed. And come to find out, what he wasn't telling us was he has like anti-seizure medication, and the doctors recently changed it, and it kind of overdrugged him, and his body wasn't reacting, and he didn't act right. He was just cold sweating all the time and just acting really sluggish, but he didn't tell us that he changed his medication. Like, dude, we're going to send you for drug tests. We get back, it's clean. He goes, well, I guess I should have told you that I had a whole drug panel change for my seizure medication. I'm like, why would you tell us that? So we're not always right, but when they won't go take a drug test, you're right. Because the guy said he was tired, and we're like, well, if you're tired, yeah, dude, I'll go take a drug test. If you think I'm on drugs, I want to save my name. But when they just quit and say, I'm not going to do that, I'm offended. Well, then, he's on something. Another question here, a comment. This is why you must understand each position hourly labor rate when you identify that you can see the waste, right? So we're talking about the, So on that, what were we talking about? I just drew a blank on what we're talking about. Anyway, so yes, that's clearly something you have to understand. We pay mostly on commission, and there's arguments for and against commission. We can talk about that tonight if you want. I think there's no perfect way to pay people. There just isn't, but I think there are some better ways to pay people that are more fair to everybody versus other ways. But I've seen amazing companies work under pay structures that I wouldn't work under. And then I've seen people really be frustrated under when you're trying to judge how much you should pay somebody. Is it 50,000, 70,000, is it 100,000 salary? And what do they bring in for that? So I like more pay structures that can absolutely be accountable to everybody. You did this, therefore you get that. Is kind of what I like. Let's see, Royd House. Yeah. So yeah, we had a little meeting today. Mr. Royd House is a some of you know him, a lot of you know him, some of you don't. He's a business coach. What Chuck is really good at is like very different than what I do with my Blue Collar University, or even Chad does with his facility where he's a business coach. Royd House is kind of more like, and Chuck, I hope you don't mind me saying, he's more like a mercenary. He comes in, and what he's really good at is looking at your systems, kind of determining what you need as a business. And then he's really good at plan development, like literally strategic planning. Here are literally the steps. He's an ex firefighter and very much in the mentality of process. And for me, I'm more free flowing and more kind of I'm kind of an idea guy, and some systems for sure. And Chad's kind of the same way, but he's probably more systems. And Royd House is more like a plan. Like, here is the plan to follow. If you do these things, it should end up with that thing. And so I think a lot of business coaches, we're all different in different ways. And Chuck Royd House, he's on here. He's got the Royd House Effect, roydhouseeffect.com, I believe. And he is a guy that comes in, and you can point him in a direction, say, I need this fixed, and he goes at it fixing that thing, developing a strategic plan. Or one of his big things too we talked about today was pricing for a profit. Like, a lot of guys don't know how to price certain things, like how much do I charge for a chimney sweep? How do I know how much to charge? How do I know how much to charge for labor per hour, or those kind of things? He's really good at that. In fact, he had a course that was how to make like $1 million per truck was his course. And I think that was right, where he shows you, he had one of the most profitable small businesses I've ever seen. I think it is the most profitable small business I've ever seen, where he got it so that he made a very good amount of money per truck, like the highest, almost $1 million, maybe it was $1 million per truck that he ran. And I think he ran a 3-truck company, if I remember right. But he is a great guy. So here's Chad said, Chuck has helped us on our book with our book just a couple weeks ago. Oh, cool. And then I will put Chuck put out your contact information. All of a sudden it became about Chuck Royd House. So let's talk about Chuck. Anyway, he does take on new clients, and again, he's one of those guys that can fix problems. That's just what he's wired to do. Put him on a problem, and he'll tell you the way to fix it, draw it out, line it out. And he's just good at that. So anyway, he'll probably put his information up here, and then I'll post it. What else you guys want to talk about tonight? It was an open Q&A. I do have some video I wanted to show that's pretty funny about kind of the 9 facts of life. It's kind of a funny take on happiness. And a lot of these kind of things can roll into business that I like to talk about. But let's see. I can't, if he's posting, I can't see it yet, but war stories. So, okay, here it is. Here's Chuck's stuff right here. roydhouseeffect.com, Chuck at roydhouseeffect.com. And yeah, reach out to him. It was he and I were working together on a thing, and I said, his saying was, I think it was like, if you want to stay out of the poorhouse, you better call Royd House. I think is what it was. And so he's very good at that kind of thing. Yeah, reach out to him, have a conversation. He knows a lot about this business. Been in a long time. He's retired now, so he's open. It's on his website. Yeah, perfect. Oh, I'm on his website now. Oh, great. Yeah, just again, there's a lot of good people in here, and I think from there's a lot of coaches in this industry. I don't know, a handful. We all have, I'm not a coach, but we have different tactics and different things you can get from them. And I suggest talking to a lot of people, because you'll have a fit with certain people. You won't fit with other people. Same with the coaches. Sometimes coaches, they don't fit with the client. Sometimes clients just, I talk to coaches all the time. Like, man, I can't work with that guy. Well, that's fine. There's vendors you can't work with. There's vendors that work great for me, and then I refer them to you, and they don't work great for you. So my idea is, it's like a buffet. Go through and taste a little bit with a lot of stuff, and then decide, when you want a full plate of something, go back for what you liked. I'm doing it right now with software. I think I've told you guys I'm in the middle of software demo hell because we're moving. I've demoed a lot of stuff. I'm going to demo a few more before I decide to get my full plate at the buffet. And I'm hearing pros and cons about everything. And some people love certain software, and the same people, not same people, but equal amount of people will hate the software. So it's very interesting. I got to make my own decision for my company and what I think is best for us. But so yeah, let's war stories. So golly, war stories. I wasn't prepared for war stories other than today's war story. I will say that war stories are what ends up making policies in my company. Like, I have people that have been with me over 15 years. I've never reprimanded them once. I've never had to write them up once, never had any problem with them ever. And you ask them to do something and they just do it. You ask them to not do that again and they don't do it again. Or you say, hey, can you always do this? And we need changes. And they roll right with it and just change. And there's some people that you can't get to change for anything. You can't get them to do the new safety protocol, do the paperwork right, make sure you do this with the customer. Now, that being said, technicians have it a lot more to do than they ever had going to a house. I used to handwrite stuff on a piece of paper on a little handwritten schedule, address, phone number, and I had a map system. I'm aging myself, but we rolled up, hand wrote a little receipt, pulled it off. See you later. Little checkbox thing. Man, now it's so different. There's a call ahead. There's a very much more detailed process. There's a camera process. There's a sales process. There's a leaving of the inspection and a leaving of the estimate that are different. There is then the follow-up process. There's asking for a Google review. There's putting a yard sign in the yard. And it's just a lot more on the technicians. There's all the safety gear you got to set up. And it's definitely harder now. I don't want to say that I know how they've got it. My job as a CEO is to work for my people. That's my job. It's my whole job is to take care of the people who take care of my customers. Every day, that's all I really do. Chad's been to my shop before, and he's like, you got to kind of do the stoner walk around. Well, what I'm really doing is getting a feel for the business and walking through and talking to the people. I sit in on a lot of meetings, but to make sure I understand who to deploy to do the work. Now, sometimes it has to be me to create something or do something. But in general, as the CEO of these companies, my job is to get the person to do it. That's that book, Who Not How. That book is so critical in the thinking that you have to have as a CEO. And again, I've done every single job in the company, and I've been a technician as long as I've been running the company. For 17 years, I did all the work. And then for probably 3 to 4 more years, I was on teams that did the work. And then I estimated the work. And then now I just run the companies and have other people do that. But that's my job, is to make sure I've got a good company to work for. That's all I'm focused on. I do the marketing and the people, say the book again. The book is Who Not How. It's always, whenever anybody recommends books, that book comes up a lot. And it's just a different way, whenever I'm working on a new business or something, I am thinking at first what I'm going to do in it, but almost never do I decide I'm going to be the guy doing the work. So 2 weeks ago, I partnered with another company, a graphics company. So we're doing graphics, signs, vehicle wraps, t-shirts, embroidery, all that. A guy that I bought had done my wraps for years. He's probably done 100 wraps for me and did all my uniforms and all stuff. He worked for a company, and the guy that owned the company died. And it was handed off to some other people, and this guy decided he didn't want to work for that anymore for that company. So he started his own company, and in a couple of months he decided he would be better off. He didn't really know how to run a business very well. So I said, I saw him struggling out there. I said, man, if you want to come talk to me one day about me jumping in with you, let me know. So sure enough, he did. So we bought big printers. We've got these huge Hewlett Packard, like 12-foot wide printers, and we got a building. It was one of the buildings that I had, but we put it in there, and we're getting all the machines going in, and it's called Blue Rocket. So we'll talk about it when we fully get it, everything set up, and there's going to do some cool stuff. I needed it for my business anyway. I bought all this stuff because I was going to buy a t-shirt maker to do stuff that I need for my companies anyway. I wasn't going to do vehicle wraps, but I need so many vehicle wraps, and I need so much of this stuff anyway for the different divisions that it just made sense. So when opportunity comes to you, it doesn't come knocking. It comes in the side door when you weren't ready for it. That's what opportunity really looks like. Daniel Gainey says, looking ahead to the spring, how well have you or anyone on here done with the outdoor kitchens? I'm leaning towards offering this in my coming year, looking forward to the HPBA Expo in Nashville and seeing what is offered. Okay, that's a great question. I have not done well with outdoor kitchens. I cannot get it to work. I've advertised it a bunch. If you watched any of my drone videos where I show outdoor living, I worked through a company that we try to make them ourselves, like from the ground up. And then we also work with a company who pre-designed them, and we bought their pre-designs and set them in place. I just can't get it to work for me. Clearly there's a lot of people do it now. If you come to HPBA, there's some great outdoor kitchen companies there that have really cool, nice looking setups. And what I've learned is it's not chimneys, right? Because you can do chimneys well does not mean you can do outdoor kitchens well. It's so different. The buying process is so different. The design process and what people want, and the land, and the construction side of it, the flat work, the gas work, the water. I hoped I could just keep it simple and have very simple setups, like L's, straight islands, L's, and U shapes, basically is what it was. And you kind of set it on the place that they had. Was a simple process. But man, you get into all kinds of different grills, you get into all kinds of different handles, outdoor features. It's a different business. If you're going to do anything like that, commit one person to it. That's all they do is focus on the estimating, the sales process, the ordering. Don't try to teach your whole company this. And if there's anybody else on here that's successful in outdoor living, let me know. But I haven't won at that game for sure. And I'll try a game for a while, but if it just doesn't line up for me, I have to work on something else. And, I like it. I've got all the crews. I've got the trucks. I've got the trailers. I've got marketing budgets. I got people answer the phone. I got all the things that should make it work, yet it doesn't. It never really did work for me. The sales process is very different. You can't send a chimney technician out to do an outdoor kitchen bid. It's just a totally different animal. Looks like I've missed something. I'm not sure who asked that, so I'm not sure what you might have missed. The question was, one of the people here said, "Hey, jumped into patio work." Oh, so that was a different one. So it said, Daniel says he was looking ahead and wanted to know if anyone out here has done outdoor kitchens. Maybe that's what you missed out there and I was just saying that I have not. I've tried it. We've probably done 15 or 20 outdoor kitchens, but it's never been like a real, for sure. It's outdoor kitchen, season, and we've got one lined up after another. I've never gotten that, but somebody else said, they getting prepared. Oh yeah, you have to get prepared for when it comes knocking. This says, last year I jumped into patio stonework. We're doing well. better than our air duct cleaning side. Yeah. So, man, I think there's a ton of work out there if you can get aligned with it. And a lot of times it's your networking and it's your network of people that will use you. I tried to align with an outdoor pergola company that does these outdoor pergolas and said, "Hey, we'd love to do the outdoor kitchens for you guys," because they were subbing it out, and I just haven't got traction on it. So let me know. Let me know if you guys figure something out. I'm always just because something didn't work for me doesn't mean it will always not work for me, or it doesn't mean it will. It's just I've got as many failures in business as I have successes, but I'm always trying. I'm always trying the next thing to see if I can make it work. And sometimes things don't work. Sometimes they take a lot longer than you think. My HVAC division is taking a lot longer to really take off than I thought. Main problem we have, marketing. Heck, I can market well, but this HVAC markets differently than chimneys. It's not the same game. So you can't, just because you're successful at something doesn't mean you can just say, "Oh, I can figure it all out." I'm as much of a guy trying to figure out something new as anybody. And sometimes something sparks and takes off. My chocolate company just absolutely caught fire a couple weeks ago, and we've been featured all over the country instantly in the Wall Street Journal, in Southern Living, in Reese Witherspoon stuff, in all these magazines. Like, I don't even know how it happened. It just sparked and it's taken off. And so I think I mentioned this. We're going to do as much in a couple weeks as we normally do in the whole year. It's gone to that level of insanity. Good thing to have. It's a lot of labor, so it's not like software or something where you can hit a button and have 1,000 more people join, and it's awesome. When we get 1,000 more boxes of bonbons to make, it's just a lot more. It's like you got 1,000 chimneys this week. It's like, oh God. So here's another question. I tried the outdoor patio scenario. What I found was advertising problems. People want to see a landscaping name, not a chimney name. I can see that. You almost have to start a vision with another name specific to the outdoor game. It's funny you say that. I did that. I had Top Hat Outdoor Living, right? And so, because my metal fab company is called Top Hat, and we just put Top Hat Outdoor Living because we kind of had a similar little hat that could move across the logos, and not that has to be that way, but you're right about that. You can't say, Daniel Gainey. I don't know the name of your chimney company, but let's just say it's Gainey Chimney, and you do Gainey Chimney and Patio or something like that. I don't know that it works out so well. I think you're right about almost making it a different LLC and making it be its own thing. That's really what we try to do mostly. Whenever a new company, whenever I start something new, it has to be its own thing, and I put somebody in charge of it. And it's not me. I'm almost never in charge of whatever the new thing is. I hire a manager right off the bat to work with to literally implement the day to day. Matt Dombrowski says, when those opportunities come knocking at the side door, how do you leverage your time and finances accordingly? This is such a good question. Are the personal finances invested or business finances? That is an excellent question, Matt. Hope you're doing well. Great to see you over in Italy for that thing. That was so fun. We were over there at Spazzicamini, and I got to finally talk to Matt for some time. But that's a great question. Let me break it down a little bit. So when those opportunities come knocking at the side door, how do you leverage your time and finances accordingly? So let me just talk about powder coating and metal fabrication. Those things came knocking because we needed them as a company. We were paying other people to do them, right? I was paying another company to make my chimney caps and chase covers. And there just got to be so much of that money going that one way. And then they had problems supplying me because I wasn't a super high, priority for them. And my stuff would be delayed, and that hurts my business. And so then I look at the opportunities like, okay, what does it take to do this ourselves? And that's my first, like in a vertical, as they say in business, it's in a vertical. It's lining up with what I already need. I don't have to get a whole new customer base and start a new division. I'm my biggest customer right off the bat. Those are the businesses that work best for me, where Ashbusters is the biggest customer of the company, and then we scale out. So Metal Fab was that way, and Ashbusters is still the biggest buyer of metal from Top Hat Metalworks, but we probably have 20 or 30 other people that we make stuff for, other HVAC companies, roofing companies, some in chimney companies. So that vertical is what I open up now. In that case, I invested Ashbusters money as an investment into that company. And we allocate those funds inside QuickBooks to this and all the expenses. And it looks like an expense on Ashbusters or a draw on the owner, because if I make it a totally different LLC under different ownership, talk to your accountant about that. But I almost always invest business money, if that makes sense, except in chocolate. When I did chocolate, I put my own money out there because it's for me and my daughter. I did use Ashbusters funds to get some of that going, but it's a due to from the chocolate company back to Ashbusters. But in general, I did that on my own. But so powder coating, we were already spending $100,000 a year powder coating our caps. The vendor that we were using, we were his biggest customer, but he couldn't handle any more of our work. He was mad at us for bringing so many caps. Imagine that. And I went to buy equipment from this equipment distributor to just, we figured out, let's build a little area to do our own powder coating, buy a little oven, spend, $30,000 to $50,000 in equipment in an oven or something like that. Well, I went to buy it and the guy's like, because they had this distributorship inside a powder coat facility. And the guy's like, well, why don't you buy this company from me? Buy the whole thing. I'm like, I had not planned on that. But Ashbusters was going to be this one powder coater I was stretching out. So I looked at a new powder coater, which is the place I bought, because he had a very organized thing. He was expensive, but he's very organized, but he wanted to sell. Well, I already knew I needed a ton of powder coating now, but he already had huge contracts. And he already had a lot of people using him, 30 to 50 companies bringing stuff in almost every day. And plus I needed it. So it was a vertical. It lined up with what I needed. So we started powder coating, and that has worked. Every business that has worked well for me lined up with something I was already doing. The businesses that I struggle with the most is when I branch off. Like outdoor living, believe it or not, to me, what should have lined up, but it didn't. HVAC doesn't line up. And it's a struggle for me because it's not, Ashbusters isn't the biggest customer of the HVAC business, right? I can't use my wheel that I've got spinning and fling it off to the HVAC. It's like its own wheel. Chocolate was its own wheel. Like Ashbusters is a big customer of that because I use it whenever I say I'm sorry or Christmas gifts or whatever. So we buy a lot from that, but it was its own thing and it finally has taken off. But I hope that helps. It's a little bit of a long conversation, but the thing was, most of the time Ashbusters is making investments into things. SureFire was an investment for Ashbusters. When we started Servant, I invested in that to kind of make a system for chimneys. And so when we first had the expense of starting the whole thing, that was an Ashbusters expense. And then we basically paid it back or wrote it off as a business expense because we needed a training platform. So I hope that helps. Again, SureFire was an offering of something we already needed. And then we decided to make it a business, but it really wasn't a business at first, and it became a business. So that's I hope that helps. That's kind of how I look at things that work for me and things that didn't work for me. Blue Rocket is the newest company I have. I already need a ton of this work. Ashbusters and all my companies are going to be the biggest buyer from Blue Rocket right off the bat. But this guy comes with a ton of contracts already. He's been in the business 10 years and tons of people want him to do their work. So we've got two lining up things. One, I need it. Two, he's bringing a lot of skill to it. And I won't learn how to wrap vehicles or doing that, but I know how to manage it, systems, phones, money, budgets, and so that's why it lines up that way. Matt says it does help a lot. Thank you, Mark. We're experiencing the same kind of problem with our local metal shop that has closed, and I have considered starting my own, and I have the opportunity to build stuff for my competitors, similar business in the area. I don't know all of your, businesses obviously, but that's an easy win, Matt. Just giving advice, over Facebook or whatever. I've always said that a metal fab shop, you really can't lose money. You just might not make money as fast as you want, but you really can't lose. If you start really basic with really basic equipment, basic metal brakes, welders, tables, forming, basic stuff, you can't lose. You will make it back for your own company because you'll start selling a lot more of your own chimney caps. The first thing is going to happen is your company is going to sell a lot more chimney caps and chase covers than ever. Secondly, you can start making it for competitors, and that's always a plus, but it'll speed up your business. And then it'll give you a whole nother skill set to be able to do stuff faster. And then what do you do to coat them? Like some people just do stainless and there's no coatings. I personally don't love stainless steel chimney caps at all. I don't think they look great. Only on very rare occasions do I think they look great. I like coated caps. I like colors. I like black, brown, tan, uh, or like copper caps. And so that's me personally. So we don't really sell silver chimney caps. And that's why we got into powder coating. That's why we sell so many caps too, is because they're not. And I know Chad does metal clad that has colored cladding. It's just a different process. But Matt, I would say, we can talk about it, or you can come visit our metal shop. I can show you what that looks like. Very simple, super simple. Even to this day, we've got 5 guys working in the metal shop, 4 guys working in the metal shop all the time, and full time, and very simple machines. I mean, just super basic. Now, there's some guys that really buy beautiful machines that do all of it, computer cutouts and the CADs and all the stuff. And that's great. But you're looking at a bigger investment, so it takes longer to pay off. For me, this equipment never wears out. It's very labor, it's person intensive, but man, it's simple. It's a very simple business. And I would, if you're at that point where you need it, I look into it further. Chad says, my first metal shop cost me $5K to purchase the machines back 20 years ago. I paid for it 2 weeks. Exactly. It's exactly same with me. I had about maybe 10 grand in it. 10 years ago, whenever we started it, had nothing. The one guy that's my manager of it had a break. He brought the skill set and he brought a piece of equipment. So I made him a deal for that. And it's been a great deal for him. He's the manager of my powder coater metal fabs, the same guy. And he has a little piece of the pie basically. And yeah, like Chad said, if you start with some used equipment, some real base level stuff, man, you can't not make money. You can't lose it. He said he made it back in 2 weeks, and I think we probably made it back in a month. For what we were doing. Then you have a different guy that just makes chimney caps, and then he makes chimney caps and chase covers, and you have 2 guys that make them, and 3 guys and 4 guys, and so that's an easy win, Matt. I think it aligns with what you already do, and you can't really lose. I like businesses that you can't lose much. I don't always do that, but those are my favorites that just line up with what we're doing. Yeah, great questions. We've got it. It's already been 48 minutes. I feel like I just started the show and I'm getting ready to get started. And heck, we've been talking 50 minutes. That's what I like when you're really talking about you're on something that's really going. Hey, Mark, this is Lewis Lee. Hey, Lewis, good to see you, buddy. We need to have you on here talking about your investment program. I think you started for chimney sweeps. I thought that was really cool, and I love your heart in that. So he says, this is so great to hear and very similar to my story. I struggled to find good investments. Oh, here we go. And insurance coverage for my employees. Then I came across the Index Universal Life, insurance policies and annuities, and found all the retirement options I have been looking for a long time. This dovetailed into my new company, Wealth Builder Global, and I have a website dedicated to chimney sweep called sweepwealth.com that I don't know why it's not letting me see the rest of this. For some reason it cut off and I can't see the rest. Maybe type that again in the second part so I can see what you're finishing out your system. It won't let me see the rest of it. Yeah, I saw you put that out there. And I think that's exactly what I'm talking about. What lines up with what you believe in and what you're already doing? So Lewis here was already aligning with how do I make more? What do I invest in? What makes sense to me? And he created a business around it. And that's how Copperfield started. Like Copperfield Chimney started because Bob Daniels was a chimney sweep. He's like, how do I sell more chimney caps? And that was his only thing he tried to do, was sell chimney caps, period. So when he started selling chimney caps from Jamoco, and then Jamoco kind of came up for sale, and he bought them. He figured out how to buy Jamoco. And then he started selling a lot of chimney caps. Like, well, we can sell some brushes too and some other stuff. He just kept aligning it with his chimney sweep business, and he just kept building it. And then they built it into Copperfield and sold it 10 times or whatever. And they've switched and morphed. But it started from a chimney sweep that had an idea of what he was already selling. And here's where Bob was really smart. He's like, I'm going to teach the industry how to be better business guys, not chimney sweep. He was the original guy that said, let's get out of just doing the chimney sweep. Let me tell you how to sell chimney caps and run a business profitably. So he started, it's just like me doing these Facebook Lives and telling you he did cassette tapes. He actually did, I think, records at first. It was that long ago. And then I remember getting the cassette tapes. And he would just say, hey, sell like this, price like this. Here's how you sell more chimney caps. And then he bought a business that made chimney caps. And then, it just went from there. And so I think all this stuff, if it aligns with what you believe in and what you already are good at, it just is an easy business win. It's when you go outside of that and try to learn something new that it can be really deadly or take on too many things. But back to Matt's thing real quickly before I finish it with his. I almost new businesses, I'll give you chocolate. I went to chocolate school. I went to all the chocolate things. I knew how to do it. I did it all myself at first, but I knew sitting there making chocolate every day was not what I was going to do. I was going to quickly hand that off to people that were very good at that, but they don't want to run a business. So I found pastry chefs from all these big hotels that were laying off because of COVID. And I found two of the most amazing people that they don't want to run their business. They like working for a company, but they just want to do what they're good at. And they are amazing. And so, but like on powder coating, HVAC, I've never pulled the gun. I've never pulled the trigger on a powder coat gun. I've never fixed one HVAC thing. I'm not going to wrap any vehicles at the new place. I'm not going to embroider any hats. So to your point, Matt, almost all new businesses, it's who, not how. I'm not going to learn how to be the best, whatever. In our gas division, I can't fix gas logs. I know this much. We have a gas division that's amazing with some amazing gas technicians, but it's not Mark Stoner. That's not my strength. If I find myself doing that work, I find it that I'm actually hurting the company. I'm hurting all the employees. If I'm focused on that instead of on them, I'm not actually helping us. I'm not saving us any money by me jumping in a truck, going sweeping chimney or fixing it. That's not saving us anything. That's actually hurting us. So, I mean, don't get me wrong. Sometimes, as Darren Bebo says, when you live in the dream, you got to keep it real. Like the other day, I was opening bags of flour and sugar and everything at the chocolate shop and cleaning the floors. Like I will do whatever it takes, but it can't be my daily thing. It just has to be a one-off kind of thing. So to finish up what Lewis said, he said, sweepswealth.com, where I teach people to invest in real estate and give them indexed universal life insurance policies to prepare for retirement. Right. The thing about right now is most of us are young enough and healthy enough, but what you need to think like is I need to take care of 70-year-old Mark Stoner right now. Well, while Mark Stoner is 56, or while you are whatever your age is, you got to take care of you now, but you got to take care of future you. You have to think, who's going to take care of me later? Well, who it is you now. You have to realize you are the caretaker for you later. I remember my friend Kirby Ragland said this. He goes, I got to take care of future Kirby while young Kirby is healthy. And that mentality of how you're going to take care of you later really, help. Most people don't want somebody else to take care of them later. They want to have done the things to take care of, but they don't do the things to set that up when they're young enough and healthy enough. They try to rush it at the end or make some Hail Mary. but it's the little steps every day, every week that builds for a future you. Got a bunch of stuff coming in. Extreme ownership. Sometimes you have to pick up the brass. Yeah, that's exactly right. Sometimes you got to pick up the brass. Okay, Wonka doesn't make the chocolate anymore. Are you talking about the movie, or are you talking about Wonka, like the real chocolate company? They don't make doesn't make chocolate anymore. 100% investor mindset. Yeah, investor mindset. That is. Here's the thing too about business. All of us business owners, we take money and we invest it in something that we hope is going to make us more money. So another van, another building, a piece of equipment. We're always taking our money and investing in investments. We we take the money and we don't buy stuff. Ideally, if we've bought enough stuff, it flings off and we have a good life. And you see these business owners having amazing lives. But it's not that they just had the money and did that. It's because behind the scenes, they invested. And then those things pay for their lifestyle now, right? They're not taking it after a paycheck and after the government takes the taxes out. They've invested in a bunch of stuff that then fling off a different life for them. Even if you're an employee, you can do what Lewis is saying. You can invest in things that, yeah, it sucks. Like it feels like it disappears until one day it doesn't. It flips on you and starts to return you real money that you can use, and sometimes not even touch the principal, or you can leverage your wealth in things. So I know that's a whole nother wealth conversation. Lewis, we should talk about having you on the show to talk about that, because especially with the new year coming on, how are you doing? Like, do you have the money that you thought you'd have? This is the beginning of the year. It's the end of the year. Where's the money? You're like, man, I'm bankrolling it. I did it. Or you're like, man, I don't know what the hell happened to the money. Well, if you don't know what the hell happened to the money, may need a different plan. If you're bankrolling it, man, go. Show us how to do it, man. Show the world what you're like. I love cheering for people. I love seeing people being successful. Like, that doesn't affect me at all. It's their race. Because they're winning doesn't mean it has anything to do with me. And there's some people that hate on anybody that's doing well out there. I can't be around those people. I want to be around people that are happy for the people that are successful. Now, sometimes when they're successful, it drives me to be more successful. It's more of an encouraging thing. Like, if he can do it, I can do it. Like, I like that kind of mentality, not he did it and so I hate him, or I don't want him to win, or man, he's being successful. It doesn't affect me at all. If it affects you seeing other people win, that's a you thing. And that'll always hurt you. You're better off cheering for people and being happy for them, because you're also seeing them at a time of their life. Like, nobody knew me before 2008, and there was nothing to talk about that was great. I was a musician. It was all over the place, and divorces and broke and driving total cars and all the stuff. And Chad's got similar stories of terribleness. You only found out after I fixed a bunch of my life, and then I started giving back to the industry. My main thing was like, how do I figured some things out. A bunch of people in this industry helped me. How can I share it with everybody else to maybe help them along like I was helped along? And that's all this is. And that's what everybody should do, is figure out what you're good at. If you're sucking right now, no problem. Just keep working on it. One day it'll start to work out if you're on the right path. And then you share that with everybody, right? That is the goal. That is what you have to do. Don't worry if you're not doing well right now. Nobody's whole, you look at their whole life. Like right now, to me, is the best part of my life. I'm probably the healthiest I've been in a very long time. Things are really, there's a lot of leverage and power and momentum, and things are good. Well, it wasn't always like that. And you know what? It's not always going to be like that either, man. Sometimes I feel something's waiting for me on the other end. But so you got to enjoy it now and be grateful for what it is. A quick story. I was in Costco. I was in Costco this weekend, and I walked in. I love Costco. And I walked in and I just looked around at all of the stuff that was there, like just at my fingertips. Everything was amazing. Huge TVs and stereos and drones and, everything, food, and just I'm like, wow. It would just was I just started smiling. I'm like, my, how lucky are we that this is all these businesses and people have done their thing to have it right here for anything you want. You touch a button, you've got it. You grab it off the shelf, it's there. And then I was just happy. And then literally 2 minutes later, I'm walking down the aisle and there were these two older guys that had seen each other. They must have known each other. They started talking, all happy, but they were blocking the cart path. And because they had just started talking to each other and they were blocking the important shopping that was happening. And this one other old guy's like, get your the yells, and calling them assholes and all this other stuff. And the guys are like, what is happening? Why is this happening? And the whole place it just took the energy right out of what was happening. But I'm like, and the guy's like, Merry Christmas to you too. The guy that was just being a jerk. He's like, well, it worked, didn't it? And so I was like, in an instant, it can all change. But being grateful is, for me, it's just like your shield, man. It's your power of being happy through all the crap. Okay, so it says, I'm the king of stop the suck. Yeah. Whatever's sucking the worst, that's what we got to stop. And it says, I like to challenge myself and push them. Yep. Diane says, people will tell us they envy the life we live now, how lucky we are, but they didn't see our struggle early on. It wasn't always steady, stable, and fun. Diane, that's such a great point. Yeah, you guys are living. John worked full-time fireman, full-time firefighter, then as a chief, and then in the dispatch. You were chimney sweep. You were the chimney sweep for the company. I heard you were boss one. He was boss two. But you guys worked and raised your kids and lived in New York and also volunteered your asses off for this industry. Both of them she was president of NCSG and a board member forever. John was president of CSIA and board member forever, always volunteering, always helping, yet always producing. And now they got a great life. They travel a lot, and you guys are a super success story, Diane. So thank you for doing that. And, John had poured into me as a board member. He brought me on and he taught me a lot. And man, you learn a lot from John Pilger. He's been around the horn for a long time. And you're right about that, Diane. They didn't see you back then. They don't know. And most people that you see are successful, you didn't know them when they weren't successful. You didn't hear when they didn't show up on your radar. So, and it's the same with employees. Like, they see me driving nice cars and doing all these things. And some of them, they don't like it. And I used to have a problem with it, but also I heard that if you're with a company and whoever's at the top of the company isn't living the life that you want to live, then you might be in the wrong company, because that's the top of the ladder that you're climbing. And if the top of the ladder that you're climbing doesn't look really good to you, that life of whoever has committed to this, or the guys around him that have committed to this or her, then you're on the wrong company, right? You're not climbing the right ladder. You might need to change ladders so in that, business owners, you need to show that this is worth it. It works. You have time off. You have time with your family. You want that for your employees too. Lewis is showing that with his programs. He's showing them how to pour into them. You can't pour too much into them because there's different reasons for that, but you need to show them that, hey, you've picked this path, and this path actually learns and works out to be a good thing. And you as a CEO got to figure out how to deliver on that promise. Matt says, any advice on taking, Diane says, we learned a lot from our mentor, Jack. Yeah. In my talk today to Borough Tech, my manager, we were talking outside after we had this problem. And the other girl that was with us said, a lot of times I tell Wes, he's talking like Mark. We call him Mark Jr. And I said, because I've poured into him for a lot, and he's poured into me too, but he ends up saying stuff just like I do. And I said, well, I say stuff just like my mentor, John Meredith and Larry Wingate, and my mentors, the guys who mentor me, I'm them regurgitated plus a bunch of books and teaching and learning from people, and I'm regurgitating it, and that's just what we're supposed to do. So she's saying Jack poured into her, he poured into me too. That's just the game. Matt says, any advice on taking the who's for certain seat on the bus, and more importantly, how long or what metrics do you use to decide this is the right person for the job? Okay, I understand natural qualities and job experience. Also, when you look at somebody with your gut, do you feel like you can train them to be that person, and how long to give them? So there's a bunch of questions here. I love Matt's questions. They're very good. So let's just break it down. Any advice on taking the who's for certain seat on the bus, and more importantly, how long or what metrics you use to decide the right person for the job? So let me just start with that. In my company, a lot of times what happens is I am overwhelmed. I'm overworked with something. There's too much on me, right? And so in that, I say, I need to hire somebody to get all this off of me. So I basically make a list of stuff that I'm not good at, and just determine what that is. And typically it's some type of a production manager, project manager, general manager, office manager, somebody that takes those. Matt, you got a list of things. If there's a list of things you've got to do every day, that's the list you start with. If you've got to come into work and do these things always, it's Matt's job, then that becomes somebody else's job. Mark Stoner does not have a job in any of my companies. Mark is not dependent to do anything in the company other than run it. Nobody schedules anything for me. I don't have a job that has to be done. Now, I am in charge of marketing, but in marketing, I hand that out to 10 different companies to deploy different tactics, But to your point, figure out what's not getting done, and or you're bad at, or you want to just that you have to do every day, and that becomes a job for somebody. Right? Then the question of who can do it. Almost a lot of the jobs, I will post them internally and see who on the team wants to play. Now, I might have somebody in mind that this is going to be the person, but the worst thing you can do is assign it to that person without giving everybody else a chance to actually talk to you or bid on it. You still may give to that person. It's clearly the person, but don't, in your company, as you grow, don't just assign jobs to people. You will end up having a system where it's all about favoritism. Secondly, a lot of people are just quiet and they don't know. You don't know what they want unless you post it and then interview them. Interview everybody internally and see if there's a fit internally. You'll be surprised about how talented some people are in your company, but you're just not using them that way. You're using them as a chimney sweep, but you don't realize how good of a manager they would be, or salesperson, or whatever. So my first step is to internally post. If you can't get that person, so for instance, my chief operations officer, my COO, second in charge to me, I did not have that internally. I knew that, but so I did a nationwide search. We had a big process we can talk about another time, and I found the guy that matched the criteria that I was looking for. And here was one of them. Have you done this before? Have you built a big company? Or for you, I don't know what role you're looking for, but have they done it before successfully? That's a guy or a girl that I want right off the bat. If they don't and they've got to learn it with you, that's a whole different process. And maybe you need them too, because you can't afford a high level person that's done it successfully. But the best thing you need to have is job descriptions of what you want them to do, what they're responsible for, and what it looks like when they're winning. So in our chocolate company, when we hired the chef, she was to develop, I had all these systems already built. She was to learn them, how to do all these, and then make them better. And she did. She developed them all. Then she actually changed them a bit. She wrote standard operating procedures for every recipe that we have, how to do everything. It's all down. And she manages and does that. But to your point, the right person for the job is one I don't have to micromanage. I put you on a task and you build the system. If they're always waiting on me to build the system's not going to get built. I give you the power, I give you the direction, you build the system, and then I'll help you manage it and make sure the system that you built is sustainable and good. But I'm not the system builder. You build the system. I'm giving you all the firepower to do it. And some people do it well, and some people don't do it as well. But that's my take on how I expand people in management. I understand natural qualities and job experience. Also, when you look at somebody with your gut, do you feel like you can train them to be that person, and how long do you give them? So my chief operations officer, I was always going to give him a year to get his feet wet, figure out what he's doing, make sure that we're tracking. But in the first year, he grew us almost $2 million year one, from 5 million to 7 million. And next year is 7 to 9. Next year is 9 to 11. Like he just ramped us right up, and it was kind of scary. So I didn't have to. He was paid on a small salary, but a really plus percentage to grow us. And man, he just understood that game, and it was quick. And now he did a lot of stuff different than I did, and we didn't agree on everything. You can't agree on everything. When you take them over, you've got to let them do their thing, and then manage the results, not manage necessarily how they got to them, unless it's being mean to your people. Now, sometimes almost everybody's meaner to my people than I am, but I've also learned that a lot of times they're right. And sometimes we needed to be meaner. We needed to be hold them more accountable and have, more consequences. I've said this before, like I'm always into giving everybody second, third chances. I've gotten less so lately, but of 10 people, like we had this little thing of 10 people that, that I chose, like I was only right 2 out of 10 times. Like when me and Kent would disagree on what should happen to this person, and he's a lot quicker to let him go, he's right almost every time. There's been a few that I saved out of the goodness of my heart, and they found the thing and became better. Two, he was right 8 times. And now it's probably more like I've been right 3 times and he's been right 17 out of the last 20. Like he's right about it. When they're not picking up, you're good people. You don't have to reprimand that much. They just track along. You're people that aren't going to work out, need all kinds of second and third chances. I don't have time for that. That's not the business I'm in. I'm not in that business of making. I want to give you a way to be better, but I can't make you better. If you're not going to do it yourself, I'm not in that business. I don't have time for it. You're not made for our company. Last couple things. I've run 20 minutes over. Like Henry Ford had the button on his desk for each and every specialist. It's exactly nowhere near Henry Ford, but I have that thing. I talk to a handful of the same people every day, and they're my people. And I remember John Meredith one time when I realized, when I watched these other companies like Saver Systems and John Meredith, it wasn't, he was busy, but he had people, he had more people to run the business than I did. I was doing all the things he was doing, plus everybody, his presidents and his managers. And same when I went up to Lindeman University, I watched what Rob Lindeman had, and he had Mike Bodart and the other Mike, and he had these guys that were just doing, and I'm like, I'm doing all those things. So I realized that's the next step, is those really good people. And John Meredith said, "Here's my favorite thing about being a CEO of this company is when I see a problem, I go find the president, who was Dave at the time, and he put his arm around Dave. Dave's like 6'7". He's like, Dave, man, it looks like there's a problem over there with this problem. And Dave's like, yep. And John's like, what are you going to do about it? and I like that. I mean, what are you going to do about it? That's your job. Your job is to get that done. What are you going to do about it? Instead of, what am I going to do about it? And when I add more stress, I don't have more stress now. Matt, to answer your question, I have less stress, although I've got, 150 people to work for me in different aspects. It's less stressful now than ever, because I have people that take the stress from me, and whole groups of people take the stress from me. That's their job. My job is to take care of them. Their job is to take care of all the stressors and all the things that have to happen in the day. But I have to work on things that they can't work on, systems, software changes. Ideally, the better you get at it, there's less that you have to do as a business owner. Your idea is to work in a business that doesn't need you. I shouldn't say your idea. To me, my favorite part about owning a business is a business doesn't need me. That I want to work in it, but it doesn't have to have Mark Stoner to run. That's the best business you can own. And then you can kind of play in the sandbox and help your people and donate your time and work in a very effective way that doesn't have to have you. You build a business that has to have you, it'll grow into be a nightmare where you almost can't stand it. So your goal as an owner is to figure out how to hand all these things off, and you're going to hand it to a bunch of people that are going to fail. You're going to hand to people a bunch, stab you in the back, steal from you, not do what you thought. You have to go through a lot to get a few. That's just the owner's deal. That's just what you have to do. You got to put your name on a bunch of crappy work. You got to put your name on some shit shows, and then you got to buy mistakes, and you fix them and try not to, and to make fewer of them. We service. There's some guys out there telling people about how to run companies, and my company services more in a week than they do in a year. Like, we literally have hundreds of projects every week, hundreds of customers every week. And some of these guys do 300 customers a year. We do 300 customers a week or more, actually. So, take advice from the people who are doing what you want. If that's what the company you want, a little cottage boutique industry business, fantastic. Love it. You do you. I'm trying to service more customers. I'm trying to service more people that want us to be in their house and help keep them safe. And that's a business for me. And I'm like, how do I handle more customers? Not how do I handle less customers? Levi, hey man, how you doing? Good to see you. Great ideas. Love the topic. Thank you, sir. And then lastly, I love the idea of hiring people who can implement technologies better than I can. Man, everybody's better than me at almost everything. I always want to hire better people than me. And not to be like, I just think that there are people that are wired for things so different. My project manager, Jim, is amazing at managing projects and processes and things. And he keeps able to take more and more. Like, I've got some really amazing people that make my life a lot better, and I have to make their life better. That's just the goal. So guys, sorry, went over 15 minutes. I don't think anybody really cares. We've had a great crowd and great questions. People stay with it. I have no problem having open business chats all the time. I didn't get to my one talk that I was going to show about the 9 things of life. I'll do that next week as its own topic, because there's some good gold in there. Hey, good night, Diane. Hope you're doing well. Thank you for your input. And guys, we'll talk to you next week.